Hello and welcome to the Clinical Liver Disease video series. CLD is an official digital learning publication of the AASLD. I'm Julius Wilder, Assistant Professor of Medicine at Duke, where I do GI and hepatology. I'm honored to have today Dr. Fasiha Kanwal, Professor of Medicine and Section Chief for GI and Hepatology at Baylor College of Medicine. She is also the Editor-in-Chief of Clinical Gastroenterology and Hepatology. She is the first author on recent guidelines entitled Development of Quality Measures in Cirrhosis by the Practice Metrics Committee of the AASLD. Thank you so much for joining us and taking the time to do this interview. We're really excited. These guidelines are certainly needed. Thank you again. Really appreciate you taking the time to come and talk to us.
Thank you so much, Julius, for inviting me. It's really an honor and a pleasure to be here with you today. As we think about sort of our practice of hepatology right now, and perhaps even more now, with the way things have changed with medicine, can you maybe speak to the article and the emphasis around the importance of establishing these quality measures? Yes, absolutely. So cirrhosis is a high burden condition. It's one of the most difficult conditions that we manage as liver physicians. And there are many guidelines that have been published, widely disseminated for management of patients with cirrhosis, but there are also the same amount of evidence that underscores the gaps that we continue to see in managing these patients. So the first step to improving anything is to be able to measure it. And the purpose of this initiative and effort that was under the AASLD's umbrella was to develop those measures that we can start tracking, both as individual providers, as healthcare systems, to know where we are, and also to really set the targets of where we need to go. This initiative, which was started under the Practice Metrics Committee for AASLD, really sought to develop explicit measures, not just for processes that we as physicians manage and take charge of, but really focusing a lot on outcomes, both meaningful outcomes clinically and with a big focus on patient-reported outcomes that are important metrics of really how well we're doing in managing this patient population. Quality measurement is very widespread. There were not really established measures for cirrhosis, and this initiative, this effort filled that gap.
And when you think about the measures in of themselves, how did you approach what you wanted to really focus on as you pulled the guidelines together?
Correct. We wanted to focus on things that are important from the patient's perspective. That was our most important goal. We also, at the same time, thought of all the different complications that patients can have through their journey, starting from compensated disease to different complications. So these two guiding principles led us to identify what areas to focus on. Another element that was important for us is to really know the scientific evidence. We wanted to focus on things that have a strong scientific evidence base, because the quality indicators, especially the process measures, there has to be a strong link between the process and outcomes for them to be considered candidates for quality as quality indicators. So these sort of are the guiding principles that we started off with. We started wide and broad. There were over 100 different candidate indicators that we started off with, and they fell under different categories. Process indicators, clinical outcomes, patient-reported outcomes, and then we went through a very structured modified Delphi process where an expert panel reviewed these measures twice, once individually, and then we had a one-day face-to-face meeting where they all got together and we discussed all the measures, especially focusing on areas of disagreement. And the panel re-voted and re-rated them. So our goal was to really provide as comprehensive of a list as we could, because different practices, different contexts might have different quality goals. And we wanted to be able to provide them with a way, a tool to utilize for their own individual context.
Absolutely.
So it is broader than what you would really use in an individual practice or individual quality improvement effort, but it was very purposeful.
Yeah, that's a wonderful approach. So how do you envision, we as hepatologists and transplant hepatologists sort of using these quality measures moving forward, and sort of implementing them into our practice?
Correct. Yes, that I think is the million-dollar question. Implementation is never easy. And we do not envision it to be easy. This is not an exception to the rule. But there are different efforts that are undergoing already, both at an individual practice level and at a larger level as well. So let me start about the larger effort. Tied in with this initiative was another initiative called Cirrhosis Quality Collaborative. It's also an initiative led by AASLD. It's a large quality improvement project. 10 sites are participating in it. This is just the pilot phase of the project, and there is going to be an infrastructure that is built for quality measurement and hopefully also allow us to improve the quality that we provide. It is actually based on these quality indicators. Of the list, we selected 15 because they were covering different aspects that were important for clinical patient-reported outcomes. So those 15 this paper list are being implemented as part of the Cirrhosis Quality Collaborative. The data would come from patient-reported outcomes data, survey data, and also will be pulled from EMR directly. That process is underway right now. So that's one example of how it could be implemented, will be implemented at a larger level. We're hoping this collaborative will grow and expand and other sites will be able to participate. At a smaller level, different institutions are using some of these metrics as automating them using different templates, for example, with Epic. And also to guide quality improvement efforts. There's an initiative at University of Michigan that's focusing on HCC surveillance, and they've created a best practice advisory, a BPA, in Epic around that. So again, two different examples of how I envision these being used.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And it's really interesting and exciting to hear there's already sort of some infrastructure there for the implementation of these guidelines. That's wonderful. So moving forward, do you envision a time in the future where reimbursement could be linked to performance on these quality measures?
The short answer is yes.
Another $1 million question, right?
The long, nuanced answer is we really focus on measures for quality improvement. So there are, again, different theoretical framework that people could use as one is thinking of these measures. One are really performance measures that are designed for performance improvement, for incentivization, and for pay-for-performance programs. We wanted to focus on quality improvement. So the way we designed them was for that purpose. A subset of these measures can and will probably be used for value-based programs where reimbursement is tied to these measures. But I think we need more work. And I'm hoping that Cirrhosis Quality Collaborative will allow us to do that work. We need to see, are they really measuring what we're supposed to measure? Are we, in terms of accountability, can we really hold providers accountable for a given measure? How many patients can be assigned to a provider? What are the different benchmarks, cutoffs that are reasonable? So there are lots of other questions that need to be answered. But I do think eventually there will be a time when they will be tied to these value-based programs. And those programs will look different as well. One thing that I think is quite feasible is some sort of an alternative payment model, an APM, which could be built around cirrhosis. Again, it's more of a vision right now. What's working to happen, where a practice or a hospital is participating in that, and that's built around cirrhosis. And these measures, or some of these, could potentially contribute to deriving the quality part of the value equation.
Yeah.
So yes, that's a long answer.
Yeah, no, that makes total sense. And I think it's sort of scary thinking about these things right now, but certainly knowing that folks like you are part of that conversation is very reassuring. And these guidelines are so helpful
And to your point, going to improve the quality of care we provide our patients, which is the ultimate goal. So on behalf of all of us on the CLD team, thank you so much, Dr. Kanwal, for taking the time to provide this great interview and answering all these questions. For those of you watching, we hope that all of you enjoyed this and found this interview helpful on this important topic around quality measures and cirrhosis. For more information about this and other important issues to us as hepatologists, please visit www.cldlearning.com. And thank you again, Dr. Kanwal, so much.
Absolutely, my pleasure.